Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Thanks for tuning to it. Hope you're doing all right on this Lawn Maintenance Tuesday. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free always. And if you'd like to email, you can, jcs at 979espnradio.com. Don't forget, we post the show, all 3 hours of it, upon the conclusion of the program on iTunes and in our own audio vault. You can watch the show being performed every day, at least the days we're not on location somewhere. Then you can just come out and see us. But on YouTube, ESPN Tallahassee, hello YouTubers. A subdued beginning because it's not lost on me what today is, the anniversary of 9/11. I'll only acknowledge it once here at the beginning of the program. We do every year. Obviously, Tom and I have reminded you of this day. Not that you needed it from us necessarily, and everybody is reminded of exactly what they were doing in the aftermath of 9/11 every year on the anniversary. But we've begun the show, is what I should say, every year since that we've been together by talking about 9/11. Tom has very close ties to what occurred there in his family, and then. For me, it's always a chance to think about how fortunate we are to be here. And I think that's everybody. Just because at various points since 9/11, there have been these just fleeting times in your life. I think, you don't do it every day. We're not that morbid. We're not that beholden to the tragedies of the world to always be reminded of that on a daily basis. That's no way to move forward, no way to live. And really no way to honor those who've fallen even. It's always the little things, Tom. It's a weird thing. It's like being at a first football game. I know that sounds trivial, but it's happened a few times for me where the first game of the year, because it's always so close to September 11th, right? Where you're reminded, where you're thinking, man, I'm very, very fortunate. And you kind of take inventory, and you think about those things. And you think about those who perished, who died on that fateful day. And you take the time to think about that, and then you move on. And certainly we do a frivolous thing on a daily basis. So
we distract for a living, I think, and sometimes we distract ourselves. And today, for me, this serves as a distraction, this show, and I'm happy for it. For me, when I see the New York skyline in movies that predate 2001, those are usually a little bit of a tough time. But having been there in the weeks after 2001, in December of 2001, and to see the work that was still going on in a smoldering and smoking Ground Zero, and the exhaustion on a lot of people's faces in that city, it's a very special and kind of solemn day for me. And I always reach out to my family and make sure they're doing all right on a day like today, because they were more affected by our family's loss. Yeah. We moved when I was, young.
You were very young, yeah.
So they knew my uncle who passed in the towers much more closely than I did. But today is a day that my thoughts are hardly here in Tallahassee. It's hard.
Yeah, and it's weird to do a sports show on days like this, on anniversaries like this, because you are thinking about so many other things that are more important than sports. But we'll do it. We'll move forward, and it's an honor to do so.
What about this train wreck of an offense, sir?
One of these days, I have thought about this, and it's not about me. It's just I've resisted going back and doing it. I'm just kind of curious. This is another sign I'm getting old. But I was on the air on 9/11, and I was doing mornings, and I was with Matt Millar. And the couple times that I have gone, I have that tape. I still have it. The couple times that I have gone back and listened to it, I'm fairly proud of what we did that day. I mean, it's just a broadcast, obviously, but it's just weird. I don't know. There's a lot of things that run through my mind. I'm not going to get bogged down in that. Let's move forward. Let's talk some sports here. Obviously, our thoughts are with all of those that have been greatly affected by 9/11 and who still have holes in their life, if you will. I heard somebody say that this morning. I thought that was an appropriate descriptor for those that were directly impacted, obviously, by 9/11 within their families. I feel for those people all the time.
Probably not the right time to say it, but Rick Pitino's a piece of crap for making it work for him in ways not related to today.
Billy Minardi Hall, buddy.
Yeah. There was real loss there at one point, but then it got bastardized to the point that you insult people who are grieving today.
It's why we bring it up every time we bring up the man's name. Yeah, it's absolutely. I'm sure he's somewhere on the book tour. And he's probably inciting 9/11.
Right, yes.
To sell books, Tom.
He's been a victim all his life, Jeff.
All right, so Florida State's got a game against Syracuse, and it's a winnable football game, and yet it's one that I'm not so sure we all feel comfortable saying Florida State will win. And so we're watching this week, the first normal week of preparation for a football game, and wondering what coaches and players have to say. And they did come out and meet the press this week and this morning. And it's interesting because that offense is still buoyed by what they see as having left an awful lot out there, points, yards, you name it. And I think they're right about that. I think they're more right about that than people realize. When we go back and watch again, you say, well, that's a big play schemed open. That's a big play that should have been made there if the quarterback makes the right read. There's a lot of things that I think are on the cusp of happening. I wish I could tell you I'm certain they're going to happen this Saturday. I'm not certain, but I have a hunch we're going to see a much more efficient and effective offensive performance to start this game against Syracuse than we've seen up to this point.
I tend to agree. The thing I wonder is if Willie could go back and not trademark lethal simplicity, would he do it? Because the thing is, when you're watching this team through 2 games, there's a lot of thinking that's going on the field. Both offensively and defensively. Barnett, Bell, Taggart, they've said that they want players not to have to worry about what they're doing, worry about what the defense is doing to them because their job is so easy. These were the talking points. And right now, it's not looking like that. So I think that's the challenge of this week, and what they're trying to do is figure out, okay, how do our guys tick? Clearly, they've already got stuff in their brain from the last system that they ran, and it's not all the way out of their brain. And the stuff that we're trying to teach is not sunk into where it's instinct yet. So how the hell do we patch this thing and maybe hybrid it together to get them to play and grow into our system because it's not a ready-made project just yet?
Yeah, you're doing it on the fly, and doing anything on the fly can be very difficult. It's not that you can't make it work, but you do have to hone in on the things that do work and then grow from there, branch out from there. I don't think that Walt Bell's wrong when he notes that on a 3rd and 1 play, DeAndre makes the decision to throw the ball to DJ Matthews, and if instead he gives the ball there and hands it off, it's touchdown. And he's right. I've watched the play. You have too. That's not the first time I've said that, or he said that, or we've made those observations where you go, man, if he makes the right read there, it's a touchdown.
Right, and it's choice 1, choice 2. You know what I mean? It's
not
like
choice 4. It's not Jimbo's offense.
Right.
It's not, okay, the safety did this, we got to do this, now I come back to here. No, it's a very simple thing. Now, again, it's easier for me to say that. I've never run this offense. I've never been a quarterback in this offense, and I've never watched and observed this consistently. We are now. But when you go back and look at tape, it's easy to see how a coach could be really frustrated because when you pause it at just the right moment, you go, all right, here we are. Here's mesh point. You made this decision, 2nd and 12. If you make this decision, look at this green grass over here, my friend. And yet, you can't do that. You can't browbeat. Got to teach, got to show, got to find a way to get them to get it.
Yeah, the hard part is it's all about a read that's right in front of your eyes. We see the green grass, right? And we see that it's blocked up perfectly for Cam Akers on a 3rd and 1. But it's not about – DeAndre can't be looking at that at the mesh point. He can't be. He may have an idea pre-snap of what coverage is doing and what the look will, end up being, or at least the percentages. But it's about a defender that's right in front of his eyes, and he's got to make the split-second decision depending upon what the defender is doing. 2 plays before the choice to throw the ball to DJ Matthews in the flat, and we have it blown up on a 3rd and 1, he decides not to pitch it on a shovel right in front of him, a jet action to DJ, who's running right in front of him. And DJ would be out the gate, up to the left side of the formation. There's a lot of things there, but at some point it's going to go from DeAndre can't run the offense to why are you still running the offense that DeAndre can't run? And that's where this coaching staff needs to figure out the nuance.
Yeah, we got an intriguing storyline to follow. If you can somehow remove emotion and remove your loyalties and ties to Florida State and see it for what it is in the way of a story of constant change, frustration along the way, growth along the way, then it's fascinating to talk about each of the games. But it's hard to do that, admittedly, because you want to win so desperately. It's so much easier to watch others go through the growing process and go through the change in coaching staffs and watch them struggle. When I'm watching Kirby go 4-4 in his first 8 games at Georgia and nearly lose to Nicholls State 26-24, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. I'm not so sure that turned out to be the best hire. And then fast forward, they're playing for a national title, and they're the class of the East, and it's not close. It's easier and more objective, to kind of take a step back and go, well, that's what happens when you get new staffs and new coaches, and you got to get new players to run those systems, and you got to get guys to understand what you're trying to teach and buy into your philosophy, and look how quick he's done it now. People forget all of those games. That's why I was saying it was so important to win the Stanford game. Nobody from afar remembers how badly Georgia struggled at the start. What they know now is that they're kicking ass, and they got good players all over the field, and they just physically whooped South Carolina, and everything is rolling, right? They don't remember losing to Florida with 20-something yards rushing. They don't remember barely getting by Nicholls State. Nobody remembers. Everybody thinks of Chip Kelly's 46-7 record or whatever, 47-6 record, whatever it was in college.
Yeah.
They're not remembering 19-8 against Boise State. They're not remembering Saban's losses to UAB and Louisiana Monroe. These are the games that occurred when guys took over at programs, and these are guys that went on to have great success. Willie may or may not go on to have great success. But for now, you certainly can't know that through 2 games.
Nobody talks about Jimbo's 2011 season. We won 9 games that year. But when he's gone, it's like, well, we're only going to remember the good things. The hard part here is, I think, just for your
last year, for Christ's sake.
I know exactly right. Like,
just remember last year.
There were 6 of them.
Yeah,
there were more losses than wins for Jimbo before he departed.
He left here with a losing record. He left here at 5-6.
So I think what's probably good for all of us as Noel fans here is find out who the absolutists are and who live in absolutes week to week, and just stop engaging with them and allow for deep breaths. And listen, they may be right, but they're going to change their opinion every week when we win or when we lose. So that's the thing here. They may end up being right, but there's not nearly enough information. You need another 15 games worth of information to find out whether or not this program's going in the right direction.
I think you give almost all coaches a good 2 years, full 2 years. Used to be gave them 3 or 4 for sure once they had their own class come through, but I know you don't do that anymore. And the only way you would only give them 2 years to have the discussion is if it's an unmitigated disaster. So if they're abject failures and you're sitting there with 3 wins and then 3 wins the following year, I'll entertain the idea of firing somebody, but short of that, I don't think it's really worthy of a discussion.
Well, in 15 more, we're in October of next season. We'll have a good idea. I mean, you'll have another recruiting class under your belt, one with a full cycle where they can make an impact.
Yeah, but the problem is, Tom, I agree and I disagree. I don't know. When the reclamation project is an offensive line, how much better are you going to be with freshman offensive linemen?
But what you'll be able to know is how stubborn are they? And they've shown signs of changing stuff on the fly. They did even so this past weekend. But you'll learn little nuances of how stubborn are they, how well do they prepare the kids, the details of the game, are we sound in those? I mean, we can lose in spite of the offensive line, but be finely tuned in a lot of other areas where you see, okay, it's just a piece. I mean, it was kind of like the 2013 season, right? We thought we had everything moving in the right direction. We just didn't know what quarterback was going to be. And then once Jameis answered it, we said, oh, well, isn't this amazing?
Here we go, right.
Even then, the offensive line was good, but it was one injury away from being a problem in 2013.
Luckily, with injury luck, yes, we got it was very fortunate what occurred there.
The defense can be a hell of a lot better this time next year. There's no excuse there. They've got enough athletes at each level. They need more depth at each level and a little bit more experience in the system. You'll know whether or not Barnett is the real deal by October of next year. The offense, yes, you're right, the offensive line may still be a plague in October of 2019, but you'll have an idea of who Willie is as a coach. I mean, 20 games under his belt at that point, or 17 games under his belt at that point.
But Willie could be, as a coach, even 20 games in, could be something that people find unsatisfactory. And it doesn't mean still that they're on the cusp of not making it and having to hire somebody new. I mean, we've watched – Dabo Swinney was 6-7 – I think in his 3rd or 4th year. I mean, there are a lot of guys.
I'm not saying you'll know whether or not to fire him. You'll just know whether or not the program's going in the right direction or not. You'll have a good sense for that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's about whatever Dante Lucas is and how quickly he can be good and start for us, or Charles Cross, and let's hope we find a way to bring in some other offensive linemen here. I mean,
some of the true freshmen that are on campus this year. Yeah.
Right. Those guys, how quickly can you get them ready? That's why I made the joke that I did about anabolic steroids. I mean, how quickly can we get those guys to be strong enough? Because they're all babies. But clearly, they're going to be better than what we're rolling out there now.
Well, I think the booing thing is, and who knows?
They got to be.
Who knows what Virginia Tech is or isn't as a football team? We don't know that yet, whether or not they're actually good. But But if you look at both of these games, in spite of the offensive line, and Saturdays, it was an absolute turnstile. And I don't mean just because they were letting people come by them. It was the shuffling we were doing of putting different groups of 5 together. You look at that, and there's easily the Aguayo misses and a drop and a missed read. There's 20 points right there. So if we score in the mid-40s to lower 50s in this game, people are not pleased, but they're not panicking like they are right now. In the Virginia Tech game, there are easy moments, one of which is a coaching problem where you got to communicate better on the replay system. That changes the course of the way the game is played. Doesn't mean we're going to beat Virginia Tech, but it changes the course of it. There's just a lot of little moments, in spite of this terrible offensive line, where you could be 2-0 or feeling a whole lot better about where the program is. So I don't think it's as bad as people see it as.
If you win this game, and Florida State enters this game as a 2.5-point favorite. It's as high as 3.5. I've seen it as low as 2.5.
Yeah.
Where I go, where I shop, currently the total is not available. We'll see. I think they're looking at injury there. I got to believe that's in the 60s easily. If you're guessing total, wouldn't you say?
Oh, I'd say, mid to upper 60s.
Yeah.
At least.
At least, right? So we'll see, but it says something that Florida State goes on the road in this game and is barely a favorite against a Syracuse team that has won a grand total of 8 games in 2 years under Dino Babers, has lost 16, is on a losing streak. Ironically enough, Syracuse's last ACC win was against Clemson. So, let's let that – it'd be funny to me. I mean, it wouldn't be funny to lose the game, but it would be a weird thing for a Syracuse fan to say. You say, the last 2 teams we've beaten in the ACC are Clemson and Florida State. Bizarre. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's just hope that losing streak continues for Syracuse. I do feel like if you get a win there and then suddenly you beat Northern Illinois and you're 3-1, even if you've looked average in doing so, people will exhale.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, they won't feel good, but they'll exhale and just, okay, we're not a good team, but we're not going to go 2-8.
Well,
2-10.
They'll feel the gravity of the Miami game at that point and say, all right, can we just get good enough to beat Miami?
Compete. Can you get good enough to where you have a chance in the second half of games against legitimate teams? Right now, it is a modest damn goal, baby. It's I used to say about it during the lost decade all the time when we were so bad on defense. I would yell, just aspire to be average, man. That's where 307 came from and all that stuff. Just aspire to be average. And I hate lowering the bar like that. And I know how cynical that sounds. But through 2 games, my mantra is just compete at a place that allows us to be in the game in the second half against teams with a pulse.
How about 307 for the opening drive, right?
Yeah, golly. Yeah, start quicker. There's my mantra. Start quicker. Can we start quicker on defense?
Put that on a towel.
Start quicker on offense. Just start quicker. Do something. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
easier than ever. Time to claim your spot.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put him to the test.
Summer temps in Tallahassee can mean extra stress on your AC unit. Let Barano Heating and Air Conditioning help with their Total Comfort Service program. Visit BaranoAC.com for info. You'll also find money-saving rebates, energy-saving tips, online scheduling, and more. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Call 580-4029. This is for CAC 057652.
Did you know that one major advantage of propane cooking is that it offers more precise temperature control than electric? That means perfectly cooked meals every time. Propane also heats your home faster and maintains the warmth longer than electric or fuel oil, allowing you to potentially reduce your energy bill. If you'd like to know more, contact AmeriGas Propane right here in Tallahassee at 877-1122.
Nature Valley wants you to think of the last granola bar you ate. Could you see granola, nuts, berries, anything? At Nature Valley, our ingredients are right there to see. The only thing you can't see? How much you'll love it. Things like peanut butter for protein or oats and honey for energy. Simple, honest ingredients your taste buds will love. So for energy that goes where you go, try a snack from Nature Valley. Nature Valley, proud supporter of the national parks.
Time now for your Atlanta Braves Minute. Brought to you by Fonville, Lewis, Messer, and McConaughey. Personal injury law is all they do.
Last night, the Braves took on the Giants for the first game in a 3-game series. Sean Newcomb was on the mound. He and the bullpen came to play last night. 6 great innings out of Newcomb, giving up just 1 run on 3 hits, no walks, and 8 strikeouts. In fact, no Brave walked anyone last night. Braves pitching retired the last 20 batters they saw to finish the ball game. Atlanta had a 2-1 lead going into the 9th inning, but they were able to add on to that. In the 9th, Kurt Suzuki doubled, and 2 batters later, Ozzie Albies came to the plate.
Hunter Strickland working to Ozzie Albies, the pitch. He was hit in the air and hit well to right field. Slater going back, still going to the warning track, over his head. Might be a 3-base hit. Another run is in. Albies around second, and he will slide into third needlessly with a triple.
That put it out of reach. Braves went on to win it by a final score of 4-1. They improved to 80-64 on the year. Braves with a 5-game lead in the division with 18 games left to be played. And that magic number for the Braves to clinch the division down to 15. Tonight, the Braves take on the Giants in the second game of the series, 10:15 Eastern with a first pitch, 9:15 Central. I'm Ben Ingram, and this has been your Atlanta Braves Radio Network update.
Fonville, Lewis, Messer, McConaughey sponsors Braves baseball so that all of you can enjoy the action. Ever since the days of Hank Aaron and Dale Murphy, we've been Tallahassee's home run hitting law firm. And because we don't get paid unless we win, we want to win every case as much as Chipper Jones wanted to win every game. So when you're injured, don't just trust any law firm to handle your case. Make the call to the bullpen for a trusted closer. To see our stats on the back of our baseball card, visit wrongfullyinjured.com. Fonville, Lewis, Messer, McConaughey. Personal injury law is all we do.
The Jeff Cameron Show is brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener. Big store pricing with local service. Online at ctf.nu.
Oh, JB. He laughed out loud at the @J Cameron Show quote about the FSU offensive line and put up a picture from yesterday's show. It was the quote in which I said, and when you can't block Samford, you're screwed. Yeah, sometimes stating the obvious seems to act as a cathartic moment for those that are with us and against us. What a showdown we're going to have at the end of the year between Florida State and Florida. My goodness gracious.
If you had to bank on one team actually looking like a competent football team, which would it be, though? Probably us, right?
Yeah, because Felipe Franks isn't going to get much better. We've had ample evidence of what Felipe Franks is.
And DeAndre will miss some throws, but, I mean, he makes a lot of them, too.
Yeah. The problem is both have terrible offensive lines. So it's hard to project anything overly optimistic about either school. Yeah, it's a shared misery right now. There's no doubt. I don't like that. I don't like being in that role. I mean, we haven't gone 4-8 or 4-7 2 times in the last 5-6 years the way they have. But we're staring it right in the face.
Yeah, the problem is if you're talking about a game in late November, who the hell is even going to be healthy enough to be on our offensive line the way things go right now?
That's another part of this that is so disappointing. It's you weren't any good when you were healthy on the offensive line. The way I phrase things, they weren't to a standard that I find acceptable here, even when they were healthy. Now you lose guys. You're already substandard. I mean, sweet Jesus, it's really difficult to really line up and expect to beat too many people when that's the case. At the same time, I have no interest in spending the next 10 games wallowing in self-pity about what we can't do on the offensive line. It is a valid reason for failure. It is a valid reason for results to look uglier than you'd like them to, but it's not fun to do a show on a loop. So, I'm going to begin to look at it differently. I'm going to begin to, there were certain assumptions that I made back during the end of the Bowden era that were uncomfortable for people at first, and over time they grew to accept them, which was that we needed to move on, and I had stated it emphatically over and over again, okay? But at some point I began to kind of shift my anger and blame from the inadequacies of Jeff Bowden and certain personnel members to the head coach, right? That's how that happened. We built up to a certain place, and then we attacked each day and show operating under that assumption. Now, that was a very different time and a drastic situation. We're not anywhere close to that. This is the beginning of a new era, and we're watching it closely and looking for signs of improvement and growth and all of those things. And also we're trying to glean insight into the mindset and coach's mentality across the board. It's a whole new coaching staff at Save for Odell. So there's a lot to learn and take in, but you can do so all while operating under the guys that none of it's going to be great. None of it's going to be where we need it to be this year. You can come into every game knowing that, hey, the marginal improvements we see are not to the standard that we seek to meet, but they are what they are. We all understand. We've defined our terms.
Do you see this weekend's game as anything is possible?
Yeah, I do. I could see this being 55-52. And I could see us winning this game 45-28. And I could see Syracuse beating us 49-17. I mean, it's a weird-ass game. I don't know. I think it's absolutely imperative that you do not start as slow as you've started on defense. Each of the last two games. I understand that the one thing people are hanging their hat on right now through two games is the adjustment period. What Harlan's been able to do in making adjustments from starting so slowly at the beginning of games to really wrangling in offenses each of the first 2 weeks. But, man, when you're trying to figure out how to run this offense and you've got a lot of young guys playing, you cannot continue to play from behind. It leads to disastrous results in situations and pressures in which kids will melt. So give yourself an opportunity to play from ahead for once, and let's not see if some of the pressures and burdens of having to run this scheme and learn this scheme and operate in this scheme for the first time in your career don't ease a little bit with a lead. I mean, they probably do. You're probably not so worried about every little aspect when you're up 14-7 for once instead of being down by 2 scores.
You know what can change the course of the way we feel about a game, too, is if in the first drive or two, Cam Akers breaks off a 20, 30-yard run.
Yeah.
Because that changes his psyche, too. You can tell he's pressing, and clearly, he was hobbled Monday night against Virginia Tech, and you turn around 5 days later. Doesn't have that extra 5.5 gear, right? He gets up to about 5.
Yeah, he can play better. He said as much. He even said it today. He can be more patient, but at the same time, I'd like to see him full rest, ready to go, get off to a good start, and let's go from there.
Well, in truth, I mean, he has a couple of opportunities that we come up empty with. One, we've talked about a lot, which is 3rd and 1, where DeAndre keeps the ball and decides to throw it to DJ Matthews in the flat. But the other one is a seam route in the first half, where, I mean, I don't know if that's on DeAndre for not throwing it to the right place or underthrowing it, or if it's on Cam for widening out on his route and not sticking to, a straight line. But that's a walk-in touchdown. Yeah. And if one or two of those, plays are made, both of them, we're talking about Cam, he's right back on pace. How many yards can he rack up this season? It's just amazing how one or two little nuances that are right there, and I know I'm oversaying that word today, but if you hit those, then bam, here you go. We're changing the discussion fundamentally. And if Cam hits one early in this game for 20, 30 yards, and he gets a little confidence about him, I mean, it is Syracuse's defense.
which has given up a slew of points and yards over the years, including even this year to Western Michigan. Yes, you should be able to get a little healthier against Syracuse. But, again, I have to be very careful about projecting success with a group that features this offensive line. I think it's dangerous to say that you think you're going to go on and put up a lot of points. I am inclined to guess, and my opinion is that they are going to score more points in this game, and they are going to look a little bit more efficient on offense in this game, partly because it's Syracuse defense and partly because I've seen all the plays they've left on the field upon looking at the replay. But I do temper all of that optimism with the knowledge that if you get down early, and Eric Dungey's a good quarterback, and if Syracuse comes out and they're hot and they score and you get down a couple scores and begin to press on the road, man, I don't know. It could all go south.
Yeah, he can keep the pace. And at that point, you're one turnover away from,
getting boat raced.
Now you're down 2-3 scores the entire time.
Yeah, you get boat raced in those scenarios. These things avalanche, man, time and again. So it's a weird time. It's a weird time. Hey, we may end up having it wrong there with New York. Did you see? I thought he looked good last night.
Darnold had some time, didn't he?
Darnold had a lot of time. That's as bad a start for a coach. By the way, first-year coaches, new coaches, thanks for the 0-7 in week 1. Not one of them. None of them. All look bad. All look like it's a process, didn't it? All looked like a bit of a mess. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
Ave and 3269 Crawfordville Highway. Tallahassee location open on Saturdays, 8 a.m. to noon. Thursdays are Friday Eve, and that's a reason to celebrate. No matter what you're looking for, they've got you covered every Thursday down in College Town. Centrale offers 50% off select pizzas all day, every Thursday. Or you can stop by Township for Taco Thursday. $2 house tacos, $2. Madison Social offers the Social Agreement. You and a buddy can split one Aurora wings, 2 Madso burgers, 2 bourbons, 2 proof Madison Socials, all for just $40. See what they did there? And don't worry about parking. Plenty of spaces available in the parking deck or surrounding lots. Check out all the Thursday College Town deals right now on ThursdaysInCollegetown.com.
Football season is here, and the last thing you want to do is get involved in a painting project. So call the guys at Berrigan Painting to take care of all your needs. They are family-owned and have been in business for over 30 years. Commercial, residential, and industrial jobs are their specialties, and they are city and county vendors. Hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. For a free quote, email them at berriganpainting@comcast.net or give them a call at 878-3988. Visit online at berriganpainting.com. Berrigan Painting. They have you covered.
Football season is here, and you know what that means. Time to get together with friends over an ice-cold drink and some great food. What better place than Fire Betty's and Fox and Stag? They're expanding their food menus and would love for you to come over and give them a try, along with a unique craft cocktail or cold beer. Follow Fire Betty's, Fox and Stag on Instagram or Facebook for daily food and drink specials, as well as special events. Fox and Stag and Fire Betty's, located at the Manor in Midtown, serving food and drinks 6 days a week.
There's more to love at JCPenney. Now through Valentine's Day, find great gifts at sweet prices, like select fine and fashion jewelry up to 70% off after an extra 20% off with your JCPenney credit card and coupon. Or rewards members can get 1/10 carat total weight diamond studs or pendant for just $25 each while supplies last. Plus, Sephora favorites petite perfumes are just $24. Get in now and find gifts you'll love. Hurry in. JCPenney. Coupon valid 2/4 to 2/14. Credit offer subject to credit approval. Offers represent savings on regular or original prices while supplies last. Sephora excluded from this coupon. Some exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.
Nature Valley wants you to think of the last granola bar you ate. Could you see granola, nuts, berries, anything? At Nature Valley, our ingredients are right there to see. The only thing you can't see? How much you'll love it. Things like peanut butter for protein or oats and honey for energy. Simple, honest ingredients your taste buds will love. So for energy that goes where you go, try a snack from Nature Valley. Nature Valley, proud supporter of the national parks.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. Two big injuries for the Panthers. Three-time Pro Bowl tight end Greg Olsen refractured his foot on Sunday and will likely miss at least a month. No plans for surgery at this time. In addition, Carolina is expected to place starting tackle Darrell Williams on IR with a knee injury. It has been recommended that he have surgery. A pair of Steelers are dealing with injuries heading into Week 2. Quarterback Ben Roethlisberger could be limited early in the practice week due to an elbow issue, and All-Pro guard David DeCastro has a fractured hand. The Patriots signing receiver Corey Coleman to a one-year deal. Jets linebacker Darren Lee said the team nuked Lions quarterback Matt Stafford's signals in the 48-17 win. Jets players said they were not stealing signals, attributed their performance to thorough preparation and scouting, and much of the credit should go to Coach Todd Bowles and his staff, according to ESPN's Tim Hasselbeck.
To have a bead on what to expect based on the certain formations that you're getting. That's really coaching, to be quite honest with you. It's coaching and film study, and it's communicating to the players in certain formations, in those situations, what are the route combinations that you should be expecting.
Baseball, Red Sox activated Chris Sale from the DL. He'll start tonight against the Blue Jays. Sale has been on the DL twice since late July with mild left shoulder inflammation. Boston's magic number to clinch a playoff spot is 1. College football with quarterback Daniel Jones out indefinitely with a broken collarbone. Duke will start backup Quentin Harris Saturday at Baylor. Wake Forest moved up the start of Thursday's game against BC to 5:30 Eastern because of Hurricane Florence. The UNC, UCF, and NC State West Virginia games scheduled for Saturday have been canceled due to the storm. NHL, Steve Yzerman stepping down as general manager of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Broadcasting live from the AmeriGas Propane Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
I will say, Morgan Terry blocked well this weekend. If you go back and watch that game, you'll see that he is blocking. We were desperately calling out for wide receivers to get involved in blocking, and he's doing that. He's going to be a star in every form of aspect of the game, right?
Yeah, get the most out of him for now and next year, right? Because he's eligible at that point.
Yeah, he's right. He'll ride out to the league. He's good. I had a question today when we did headlines, which will come to you today from 5 to 7. But a guy called in and said, a guy wrote in and said that he didn't see any NFL talent on the roster. And I said, no, not true. Not true. You may not see any NFL talent, zero NFL talent on the offensive line. That's accurate. But, Trey McKitty's going to play in the league, barring injury, knock on wood, for sure. Tamarian Terry's going to play in the league, barring injury, knock on wood. Same thing, Cam Akers is going to play in the league. No, there's plenty of guys. Listen, it's so early in their career. I don't want to go crazy, but it certainly would be fair to say that Jaden Woodby is probably going to play in the league. Levante Taylor is not an all-world corner, but he's probably going to play in the league. There are guys.
Well, this is a big year for him. Hype Train was with him. The analytics were with him, and he's been off to a slow start. I got to think that's a technique issue. I really do. I don't know if he's afraid to come up and press, and it's not an attack on being soft or anything. It's just Harlan's asking them to do different things at the line of scrimmage, and I wonder if they're going to get to that point where they actually can execute those things. But I would say, looking back at Jimbo's tenure, and we had 29 to the league through the NFL draft in 3-year span. It's not that way since then. And that's why that team was an all-time great team in 2013, and we won 29 games in a row because we put that many dudes in the league, high-profile draft positions. But I think to that person's point, it is fair to at least look at the fact that we're not as deep in terms of sending people to the NFL as we are, or as we were in 12, 13, and 14.
Nasir Upshur did practice today, and the coaches have said he will play this week. He confirmed that news to Coach Taggart yesterday at the press conference. He had been out for an undisclosed reason, obviously had been suspended in some capacity for a couple of games. I bring that up because I think he can be a help as a blocker, and I think listen, he's not a huge guy, but he's 240, maybe a little bit bigger, somewhere in there. Any extra body you can get to help out along the line, but he's also a guy that can help you in the passing game. So it's good to get everybody back as much as you can. I strong guys. Anybody willing to help out, that group needs it.
I forget. I didn't write down where it was in the game, but Gabe Neighbors laid somebody out.
I'm a Gabe Neighbors fan, and I've mentioned this before. I'm a big fan of his.
It wasn't. He wasn't lined up next to the tackle. It was in the slot. But I remember seeing up at the top of the screen somebody just get decleated, and I go, "Who the hell did that?" And it may have been a run into the line of scrimmage. Like it's something you wouldn't notice, but only on the second watching. And Gabe just decleated this kid. It was one of the few moments where you go,
there you go.
FBS, FCS.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should look.
Gabe Neighbors, by the way, had a good camp. Yes, every time I looked out there, I thought that kid played extremely well. So that's good to hear. I'm pleased. By the way, the Jets today, I want to go to the NFL for a second because we got all kinds of college talk coming, of course. The Jets today said they knew the plays. Man, that's amazing that you have a year one guy coaching a team in their home opener, and the opposing team says afterwards, we knew the plays, but it sure looked like it. Also, I would always tell my guys this. You beat somebody 48-17. You dominate a game in a way that rarely happens in the National Football League. Don't discredit yourself or alert others to the fact that you knew the plays. Just keep on keeping on. Don't tell people you knew the plays. The extra attention and guarded elements of what every team does from week in and week out when facing you moving forward is going to be that much more difficult to get, I would guess. I don't know what the secret was necessarily, but Matt Patricia's got some work to do.
Woo, that is a... if that happens on the road, it's bad enough, but that it happens in your own building. They cut to a shot in the first half. I didn't watch the second half of that game. I couldn't do it. There's something about Detroit football. You're right. And I early in this game, they're down. Weird. They got goal to go from the 6, and I just know it's first and goal from the 6. I know they're not going to score a touchdown. Detroit hasn't in a decade been able to score goal to goal with any consistency. And they cut to this shot of a super fan. Sorry. And I thought, my God, he's wearing like the shoulder pads.
And you just laughed.
And I go, that guy's got to walk out of this building later. Like, how do you do that and walk to your car?
Well, probably in a way that doesn't make you feel as responsible as Jim Bob Cooter's got to feel. Good Lord, Jim Bob. The Jets said, quote, we were calling out their plays as they got lined up. We knew all of them. That was just our preparation. We would call out his signals. We knew everything they were trying to do. Seemed like we were their head coach. Damn, man. It's week 1. What are all these tells that carried over from the year before? That's a direct quote.
Maybe Stafford's earpiece was facing out and not in.
Deron Lee said that. The linebacker, he yelled out, he had 2 interceptions and a pick 6. He certainly seemed to have a good feel for what was coming. Quote, that's just called studying. You know, we had an extra day with it being Monday night and all, and this was a big game for us on the road, but it was good to see all of our preparation and film study led to us knowing their plays. I mean, they're all just, hey, we knew your plays, man.
There must have been just a celebration in film study, though. You know, if they found a trend, or I'm sorry, after drive 1 or drive 2, because they do all that work. I'm sure that never happens. Like it's almost, it's like finding somebody's tail as a pitcher.
Well, it reminds me of how happy the Bucs were at the Super Bowl.
Right, yeah. And Lynch called the play. They had the mic, and he said, Monty, I told him.
I told him. That hurts. Patricia may have to have a conversation with Mr. Koetter.
Well,
Coots, can you get in here? I gotta have a
wait a minute. Patricia may have to have a conversation with Mr. Koetter is probably the greatest sentence I've ever heard.
I'm just glad I got you. But he does. Jim Bob, somebody get Coots. We got to get him in here. I gotta have a conversation with the Koetter. We've got all kinds of issues going on here. They were calling out our plays. This will not stand, man.
Well, and Stafford also got killed last night.
Yes.
He deserved an honorary football Purple Heart after the. Did you see the one where he got sandwiched? It was towards the end of the first half, and he's grabbing at like his left kind of scapula. He was like right in there, the clavicle scapula
what
area.
What am I doing?
This is terrible. I need to come out of this game. It's the 5th time in his career he's thrown for 4 picks in a game. 5th time.
My favorite quote isn't to do with Matt Patricia and or the Jets players talking about knowing the plays. It was the fact that the Oakland Raiders, imagine that, could not get a pass rush last night against the Rams. And I'm just silly enough to sit up and stay up very, very late to watch all of the Oakland-Los Angeles Rams game. And I did. I wanted to see Gruden's debut, and I don't know why. There was something about that matchup that intrigued me, and I just fell into the rhythm of that football game, as I often do with a baseball game. But it was nice, sitting down, watching the game in the Bay Area. Okay, I'll watch. And they're unable to get a pass rush, and afterwards, John Gruden said, we'll look at all aspects as to why we couldn't get a pass rush. Really, John? Really? Wondering why you didn't get a pass rush there.
Look at all aspects?
Yeah, that's most unfortunate. If only you had an elite pass rusher on the roster when you took over the job.
He should just be brazen about it. Kind of like when we were joking about his wife. You know, he's like, I want to thank my wife who's not here.
John. I'm right here, John.
You know, these guys aren't easy to come by. You just, the great pass rushers,
can't find them.
You can't find them.
We knew we had to rush Goff, and we couldn't give him too much time. I don't think we did a good enough job of putting pressure on him, quote, unquote. If only there were a guy who specialized in doing just that.
Notice his offense looks a lot different, too. Remember, he hated the shotgun forever and a day, and now he's tempo, shotgun, spread concepts. It's interesting.
How many people were screaming at the television in Oakland last night? Really? Just dumbfounded, confounded as to why it is we didn't have a pass rush tonight. Come on, man. That's ridiculous. It's too early to say it. But when something like that happens, do you ever just think, well, man, that one move right there is the downfall of the guy's return?
Well, if he was a good drafter, I'd say, well, all right. I mean, maybe Khalil didn't want to be here, and we had to make what we could make out of it, and 2 first-rounders is good. But what in John Gruden's track record as a personnel guy suggests to you that having 2 extra first-round picks does anything for Oakland? It doesn't do anything for them.
I know. The story of the weekend, and now that the games are behind us, the NFL games, and we move on to the next week, isn't the results of certain games. 2 things happen. One thing that's good and one thing that's really bad. We were all so scared about the helmet stuff and the way that they were going to enact the stricter rules. And I think you had one call, one targeting.
It was a Cincinnati Indy game, and it looked pretty bad, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, you really didn't have this overwhelming number of flags that we were anticipating that concerned me, at least in terms of the integrity of the game being affected and not being able to watch. But what we did have that does affect the integrity of the game is, again, heightened efforts to protect the quarterback at all costs in a way that really doesn't make it football. You're not allowed to tackle the quarterback with any degree of gusto, Tom. If you throw a passion into the tackle in any way and dare celebrate it, or if it looks bad, you're going to be flagged. And that is a problem. I do think that ran rampant. The Bucs were the benefactors of back-to-back calls that neither were roughing the passer, in my opinion. I understand the emphasis on the rule not putting your body weight on a player. They called one on the Saints for that. That's stupid. It's football. These are grown-ass men. It's a tough game. As long as you're not hitting up around the head, and as long as it's not late, you land on somebody, you land on somebody, man. It's football.
Yeah, the natural next step, and probably one they should take at this point, if they're going to call it like that, is just wrap the quarterback and the play's dead. He can't do anything. You get his arms around. You get your arms around him. He can't do anything. It's just the play's dead.
Yeah.
If he breaks a tackle, it's too bad. Because we're going to protect the quarterback. You have to take away the quarterback's ability to extend a play from a broken tackle if you're going to take away the tackler's ability to bring him to the ground. It just doesn't make much sense. But the NFL defended those calls in the Saints game, which I found interesting. They went out and obviously announced that the call in the Browns and Steelers game was incorrect.
Yes.
And that led to points for the Steelers. It led to
That's
a James
a
Conner
freaking
touchdown.
problem, man.
Right. But they defended the call in the Saints game, which I thought, even as a Bucs fan in real time, I thought, ooh.
No, that
got away with one there.
That was the bad call. I didn't think it was a good call. And I want to say this, again, I understand that Sean Williams, who was ejected in that Cincinnati-Indianapolis game, that if you look at it in slow motion, you can say yet again that it looked bad. But I'm here to tell you, I don't think he's wrong on this quote. It's 3rd and 7, Luck's scrambling. And this quote struck me because I thought the same thing in the moment. If you watch him, I don't know if he's getting ready to try to run me over. Don't get it twisted, man. Andrew Luck is like 6'4", 245. He's bigger than a lot of us defensive backs. I think he's going to dive, but he wasn't going to give himself up and slide. I could see that. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do because I'm not going to get trucked. I just think that's true, man. I do. And you're taught so frequently about leverage and getting low and putting yourself in a position to where that doesn't happen. Andrew Luck ain't a small man.
Again, just take the quarterbacks out of the equation as live. That's where we're going. Either do that or don't. This middle ground stuff, all it does is benefit the quarterback in a way that's so unfair to defenders. It's ridiculous.
And for years I've said it with the stuff on the sideline. It started in with all these fouls being called where a guy's still in the field of play. Yeah, he's angling towards out of bounds. But the second a player lays up, that guy goes for another 4 yards. Man, no. If you're not out of bounds, I'm blowing your ass up. That's football. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this. It's right here, guys. We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
You'll be in and out in no time. And with 19 Tallahassee area locations, there's a Super Lube just minutes away right now.
Boy, this place is sure convenient. How I love to Super Lube my car, lube my car. How I love to Super Lube my car. Yes, sir.
You know what? It's time you level up your lemon lime with clear, refreshing Mountain Dew Ice. We get it. You're used to a certain kind of lemon lime experience. But why settle for this when you could have this? You want a fist bump that ends in one of those fake explosions?
Hey, Charles.
Or a fist bump that ends in an actual explosion?
Hey, Charles.
Want to pull up to the party on this? Or arrive in this? Take this last second shot? Or make the last second shot? Make this musical request? Or this one? So yeah, you can keep drinking the same old, but we think you'll like the exploding fist bump, last second shot, showing up to the party properly way to lemon lime, right? Mountain Dew Ice. Clear, refreshing lemon lime, redefined.
Need help moving? 2 Men and a Truck Tallahassee provides professional home and business move services, both locally and long distance. For your next move, visit 2men.com or call them at 850-224-2232. 2 Men and a Truck, the movers who care.
The Southside Farmers Market at the Walker Ford Community Center, located at 2301 Pasco Street, is now open every second and fourth Thursday of each month. Join the City of Tallahassee and shop local foods. Enjoy live entertainment, cooking demonstrations, and free health screenings. Everything from seasonal fruits and vegetables, seafood, and more will be for sale by our local farmers and vendors. Sip a smoothie and see what the market has to offer. So head to the Southside Farmers Market every second and fourth Thursday. To learn more about the market and its future dates, visit talgov.com/farmers market. Join the City of Tallahassee at the Southside Farmers Market at the Walker Ford Community Center, 2301 Pasco Street, every second and fourth Thursday.
Driving every day from the AmeriGas studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. On this, the anniversary of September 11th, 2001, WTSM remembers the innocent who senselessly perished and those who made the ultimate sacrifice for their city, their community, and their country. We will never forget.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. 2 big injuries for the Panthers. 3-time Pro Bowl tight end Greg Olsen refractured his foot on Sunday and will likely miss at least a month. No plans for surgery at this time. In addition, Carolina is expected to place starting tackle Darrell Williams on IR with a knee injury. It has been recommended that he have surgery. A pair of Steelers are dealing with injuries heading into Week 2. Quarterback Ben Roethlisberger could be limited early in the practice week due to an elbow issue, and All-Pro guard David DeCastro has a fractured hand. The Patriots signing receiver Corey Coleman to a 1-year deal. Jets linebacker Darren Lee said the team nuked Lions quarterback Matt Stafford's signals in the 48-17 win. Jets players said they were not stealing signals, attributed their performance to thorough preparation and scouting, and much of the credit should go to Coach Todd Bowles and his staff, according to ESPN's Tim Hasselbeck.
To have a bead on what to expect based on the certain formations that you're getting. That's really coaching, to be quite honest with you. It's coaching and film study, and it's communicating to the players in certain formations, in those situations, what are the route combinations that you should be expecting.
Baseball, Red Sox activated Chris Sale from the DL. He'll start tonight against the Blue Jays. Sale has been on the DL twice since late July with mild left shoulder inflammation. Boston's magic number to clinch a playoff spot is 1. College football with quarterback Daniel Jones out indefinitely with a broken collarbone. Duke will start backup Quentin Harris Saturday at Baylor. Wake Forest moved up the start of Thursday's game against BC to 5:30 Eastern because of Hurricane Florence. The UNC, UCF, and NC State West Virginia games scheduled for Saturday have been canceled due to the storm. NHL, Steve Yzerman stepping down as general manager of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Broadcasting live from the AmeriGas Propane Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Hour 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Thanks for tuning to it. I'm Jeff, that's Tom. We are online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you're going to listen live via the streaming, free always. Don't miss anything. If you do miss something, remember, we post the show, all 3 hours of it, ordinarily. Today's 2 hours and then 2 hours of Seminole Headlines up on iTunes and in our own audio vault. You can always email the show if you like, JCS at 979 ESPNradio.com. On Twitter, it's at JCameron Show, the WTSM app. Good for your mobile devices. It's interesting to listen to the coaches this week. I am relieved to see we have a normal game week. Not a game being played on a Monday, not a game being played in short order after playing on a Monday, but a normal week that allows you to prepare properly, and that's the way it will be from here on out. And that is a good thing. And it reminds me that coaches, and for good reason, don't like the oddities of a Friday night game or a Monday night game or a Thursday night game. They are very much a creature of habit, but it has to do with the work week. It has to do with the time you get to correct mistakes and to properly go through and practice ideas, concepts, things that you're working on, and also to rest the body. So I thought we did look, it is fair to say, I thought we looked very sluggish on Saturday evening. Never mind the fact that too was convoluted and disjointed because of that ridiculously long delay because of lightning somewhere in Apopka. I mean, whatever it is that could go wrong with this team right off the bat, Laybourne gets hurt. There's another delay. You have the long officials review, which is ridiculous, that took almost 10 minutes just so they could find a spot. Just all these different things. Now, listen, that doesn't all add up to the reasons Florida State's look bad. The reasons, that Florida State has looked bad are many, but most notable the offensive line. But they don't help. They're not things that are going to help out in your cause. And I think this is an interesting week because Tom and I think, are building towards a consensus here. And we may be wildly off base. It could turn out that we are absolutely wrong. But I sense, Tom, in talking to you from last hour and some conversations we've had off the air, that we both believe this is going to be Florida State's best offensive showing. And for a couple of reasons. A, they were better this past week than they showed, and certainly they were better than they were in the first game, at least in terms of scheming things open. Quarterback doesn't always execute in that situation. But there are plays to be had there. Lots of them.
Yeah.
More this week than last.
Well, and there were plays to be had last week, too.
There were, but more this past week.
100% true. And there should be. If there weren't, and against an FCS opponent, then screw us.
Yeah.
And we are screwed, as you said yesterday in the open with the offensive line situation.
Yes, we are.
If you make just a couple of plays in the first half against Virginia Tech, that game is different. Game pressure, all that kind of stuff. I don't know that we win it. I'm not trying to say that. But it is a completely different game.
Hold on to the touchdown pass, man, and let's see where this goes.
Sure. Or, actually
make a field goal.
Get the Nyquan Murray touchdown called in your favor.
Any number of things.
Correct. So these plays are there, but the coaching staff is also willing to adapt on the fly a little bit here. And that's good to know. I think this coaching staff, especially on the offense, with it being Willie's offense, they thought, well, the plays are there. It's a short week, so let's just do a little bit more of the same, patchwork this thing together, and let's get by an FCS opponent, and then we'll collect our minds and move forward and see what we need to pull and see what we need to add. Now they get that chance. If I'm arguing for why it would look a little bit different, I think there may be some things that they feature more and feature less now that they have a full week of preparation. And Walt Bell even said this morning that he was happy that we can do a real install for a new game week. So I think what they had was probably one group of things they were trying to do for 2 games in 5 days. And they didn't really work that well for either, except for in stretches on Saturday night.
Well, we agree. I want to say that I think the offense will come out and perform better in this game, partly because Syracuse is not very good on defense. That's part of it. Now, when you hear us say things like this, remember you have to couch it a little. There are going to be drives that simply do not pan out because this line screws up or they get whipped. They're just not good enough. And so I think when you go into these games with whatever expectations that they are, temper them with the idea that there are going to be things that are called that were the right call at the right time against the right look that just don't pan out because of that offensive line. And that's tough, man. That's tough. That's a tough ask because it means you have to be very analytical while you're watching the game and not emotional. And we are all emotional while watching a football game. It's our team. We're cheering. We're watching. We want things to work. But when you got a group like that up front, you got to differentiate between that's a poor idea and a bad call at the wrong time, and that call would have worked if they could have blocked anybody.
Right. That just never had a chance. No matter
Right.
what the play call was, it never had a chance. And, I suspect the offense will be better this weekend. But I'm allowing for all possibilities because there are things very much in the coaching staff's control that we're not doing well. So if a penalty short-circuits a drive, and it's a really stupid penalty about lining up incorrectly or something along those lines,
that's different.
I wouldn't be shocked by that if that happened. And I'm not going to say that, the plays would have worked and it's not the coaching staff's fault. In those moments, it 100% is.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of pulling the lever here on the slot machine, and I think I know what's going to come up. But, if Syracuse comes out and they drop a couple of touchdowns and we look sloppy again, that's 100% possible here too.
Real quick, the Storm is wreaking havoc early in the week here, already games being canceled and or moved or times changed, obviously with Florence bearing down. I know this is selfish, but as a football fan, I was very excited to see Boston College and Wake Forest. I know that's a weird sentence. But my man Adagio's got it rolling right now, and I thought they're going to beat the bejesus out of Wake Forest, and I was excited to see them go to 3-0. That game has been moved up to 5:30 Thursday instead of 7:30. So Thursday's game,
it's a happy hour game right there.
You're damn right. Mm-hmm. We may have to put the last 30 in the can and go hit the bar, buddy.
I think I like your thinking in that regard.
It could happen. West Virginia, NC State. Boy, what a reprieve NC State just got. West Virginia coming into town, probably going to wipe the field with NC State at the Wiz Palace. Instead, not going to happen. It's been postponed, no reschedule announcement date yet. By the way, that's a big deal. That hurts Will Greer's Heisman campaign. Don't forget, he's been brilliant. They're not going to make that game up.
Yeah.
And so that hurts, man.
It's one of those where I'll bet, you wish if you're NC State that you're playing Oklahoma State or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Because you'll just go to their place and sign some sort of agreement that says you'll come back. But there's also, you got a lot to think about in this regard, and we learned this last year, especially with the Bucks. With the Dolphins.
Awful. It's 16 straight games.
But you've got families to consider.
There's a million reasons why it's happening, sure.
If you got to get on a plane on a Saturday and this thing is hitting back home, do you really want to be away from home on that day? If you're a member of the coaching staff, support staff, training staff, university personnel, all that kind of stuff. There are more serious things here, and I'm glad they got out in front of it on a Tuesday.
They're learning their lessons. I mean, these storms have wreaked havoc over the last couple of years. They continue to do so. I might note Larry Fedora should be celebrating today, somewhere lifting at the gym, feverishly so, as he's wont to do, because they don't have to face UCF, who would have beat North Carolina by 105. So you get to avoid going 0-3, North Carolina. How about that? You should be so thankful.
He strikes me as a guy who will go out shirtless with face paint on and shout at the hurricane as it's arriving.
Bring it on. You're not going to steal football from me.
That's right.
We're not going to ruin young men's lives and this country's fate because of a storm. No, sir. Football will go on. And then those are the big games that are being rescheduled and or canceled. I don't need to tell you about Elon and William and Mary, which, by the way, has been canceled. But I should I should note though, there are Division I games planned in either the Carolinas or Virginia that have yet to be announced and are affected. Absolutely, there are, including Clemson, who is hosting Georgia Southern, which, again, you could probably just say thanks for,
Man, that cone is shrinking. They have this thing pinpointed. Usually they leave themselves some margin for error, but that thing is really bearing down right between the Carolinas, and it's supposed to sit there and dump between 20 and 30 inches of rain on that area in the Mid-Atlantic / Carolinas. This isn't going to be good, man. Those cities aren't ready for that. Who is? But I mean, if it's just going to sit there and just beat them for a while.
Football season the last 2 years, because of the way it's gotten started, between storms and injury and really obviously setbacks on the field for Florida State. Selfishly looking at it, man, the start of football has welcomed nothing but misery the last 2 years, damn it. Yeah. I'm tired of it. We should be in celebration. All jokes aside, we wish you all very well out there. Hang in there. And if you're listening to this show, and we have a lot of listeners in the Carolina, Virginia area, thanks for listening, but be safe, be
Please
careful.
Get out of there. If it's going to be a 4, get the hell out of there. And we got to keep an eye on Isaac for our own
Apparently
end.
there's 6 storms out there as well.
There's more on the west coast of Africa. They're still coming. But, it's Saturday / Sunday, I think, that we'll know a little bit more about whether Isaac is going to make it through the Gulf and which way it's turning. So, stay tuned, people.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
What?
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
But now at a new state-of-the-art facility off Lake Bradford Road. Come check it out for a free collision estimate and find out why Bob's Auto Repair and Collision has been rated #1 with FSU students in Tallahassee for over 35 years. Bob's Auto Repair and Collision Center, 2293 Lake Bradford Road. Don't let your car get stuck on the bench this season.
License number MV01209.
Just how good does a Sport Clips championship haircut experience make you feel? Like your hair has its own walk-up music. No matter what kind of guy you are. Maybe you play sports. Maybe you play sports online. Or maybe your sport is keeping up with your kids. You want hair so good it deserves its own walk-up music. And at Sport Clips, we make it easy. Just check in online, choose your stylist, and head to Sport Clips. You'll get a game-changing cut from a stylist trained for guys. Go big with the MVP experience and get recharged with a massaging shampoo and their legendary hot steamed towel. They'll always finish strong by styling your hair just right, tightening up that beard and getting you on your way. Hair this good needs no introduction, but you'll want one anyway. Appointment-free championship haircuts for men and boys surrounded by what you know and love, sports. So get in line online today at sportclips.com/check-in and get your hair in the game.
With football season in full swing, don't forget about fishing our local waterways after the games. Fish are still biting regardless of the score. Sea Quarters Marina, Carabel, Florida. Open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The marina has a ship store, which includes fuel, bait, tackle, ice, and all of your fishing supplies for the trip. Both diesel and non-ethanol fuel is available. Free Wi-Fi and pump out with boat slip rental. Sea Quarters Marina, 501 St. James Avenue, Carabel, Florida, 697-8400. Visit them online at seaquartersmarina.com.
This is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
So, sometimes folks can't get out of their own way. See the debacle at Michigan State that continues to happen. Any number of articles today that help you see that situation is going to be ongoing. But now I'll refer to something far less sinister and I guess not all that surprising. Dirk Koetter couldn't enjoy a road win against the Saints because he was too worried about who would get the credit, and decided to challenge, albeit Tom Jones of the Tampa Bay Times, who's useless, to a very simple answer he wouldn't give. I mean, he just decided that wasn't going to be something he was willing to relent to, and it was a valid question regarding who called the plays in the win on Sunday. But listen to how petty this sounds, and I wonder if somebody in the organization had an opportunity to go back and ask him to listen to his response or watch the video. So often you can help somebody learn by showing them what they did, whether it's in a football game, making a mistake, or in life or anything else. If you have video of it, I know they use it a lot in FSU golf, where they show somebody's behavior on the course because they film practice and they film the contests, the actual matches. And if a guy has a moment where he displays a bit of too much temper, Trey doesn't go yell at him. He shows him the video afterwards. This is what you look like. This is what you looked like while you wore our jersey, while you wore our colors.
Well, knowing Trey, he can deliver a one-liner that'll gut you, too.
Yeah.
After that, without raising his voice.
And so, does somebody in the organization go to Dirk Koetter and go, hey, man, you sounded ridiculous. You sounded like a little kid that couldn't admit that they stole a cookie or broke the vase or whatever it is, right?
Right, and for context purposes for non-Bucs fans, Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, had been calling plays in the preseason, and it was thought, it could be just an experiment to let Monken, get used to life in the NFL calling plays, maybe for his next opportunity, or just for a different set of eyes to evaluate things. And then the offense went crazy in the preseason.
What's weird is if you're a guy who's in charge of an organization and something within that organization is not working and you're tasked with making sure it does work, even if you're the one who was the most integral part of why it wasn't working, or if you're the one who is directly involved with the segment of the business that is failing, you're still tasked with that responsibility. And the quickest way to lose your job is to remain hard-headed and not make changes or not take a step back and realize that it's necessary for you to remove yourself in this situation and bring a new set of eyes onto the problem. It doesn't reveal weakness. It reveals strength. It doesn't necessarily reveal a lack of acumen. Certainly you couldn't have reached this place in your career without having shown the acumen to do the job. It reveals a selflessness that's required for the team to win. But there's a leader in Dirk Koetter who doesn't get that, who doesn't seem to understand that. And thus, it's impossible to praise him for doing what he should have done, and I would like to praise him for, which is stepping aside and letting Todd Monken call the plays. Clearly, a different set of eyes made a big difference. It may not continue. Who knows? Maybe it will continue. But you would receive all the praise for having the wherewithal to take that step back and to recognize within you that that was what was necessary.
Well, you know what a leader does in that moment? He takes the time to brag on his guy that he empowered and succeeded.
Yes.
It's his moment. You let him have his moment because it's the NFL speed, regular season speed, not the preseason. This is a completely different challenge in a very loud environment in the Superdome. And what did he do? He came up roses with a backup quarterback.
Again, but it speaks to paranoia. It speaks to a guy who doesn't have a belief in himself that should transcend certainly worrying about who gets credit. So here's Dirk Koetter yesterday after being asked by Tom Jones who called the plays in the win over the Saints.
Who called the plays?
You guys were there. You guys were at the game.
What does that mean?
What does it mean?
Yeah. Who called the plays?
Were you at the game?
I was at the game.
What do you want me to say? We ran the Bucs offense.
It's not a story.
Not for me.
I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just,
You're good at it.
I'm not trying to be difficult, Dirk. I think it's a question that people want to know.
Report it then.
I'm trying to.
You can do your homework.
His answer makes no sense. It's petty. It's pithy. He's acting like a petulant child. It makes no sense. And you can hear he's nervous.
Yeah, because he's beating the hell out of the
beating
podium.
Beating the bejesus out of the podium because he's nervous. He knows what he's doing is wrong. And he knows there's an inner voice, I'd like to believe, telling him this ain't the way to go about this. You're starting an argument where there isn't one. And it's like when you, for whatever reason, are having a bad day, and there's a lot of things that are irritating you, and your wife or your girlfriend or whatever asks you a question, and your response is terse. It doesn't match. It doesn't make any sense. And you hear it. You hear it come out of your mouth, and you realize it's a misstep. And sometimes pride gets in the way. and you don't back down and you remain that way, and it takes you a few hours and you go, that was wrong, I should apologize. Other times you immediately recognize that your response was uncalled for because you've had a bad day and you're taking it out on your loved one. We all do it. It happens.
Yeah.
And they do it to us. It happens.
Well, the Bucs just hung 48 on the Saints and won a big game.
It doesn't make any sense to have that reaction when everything is roses. You didn't have a bad day. You had a good day, my man. Stop being paranoid that you're trying to be run out of town.
Or else you'll be run out of town.
Exactly.
You're going to fulfill this prophecy, sir. And that was Sunday. And then yesterday, given the chance, he only took a half step towards the good, where he was quoted saying that Monken called a great game. The Buccaneers executed, rather than just saying he called it. You could just stop. Just stop after the first sentence, even if you want to be short about it. But you're going to say, Monk called a great game, did a great job with the plays, but the Buccaneers executed the offense.
The Buccaneers executed the offense. It's just such a silly statement. Of course they did.
I got a guess on this, and this is no inside knowledge, and sometimes we get word from down in Tampa with some of our old friends. Maybe Jason Light mandated who was calling the plays because his job's on the line and he saw how the offense was running. Could it be that Dirk was dragged kicking and screaming to this conclusion that he's not allowed to call the plays?
I guarantee you he didn't want to relinquish calling plays, and that's not unique to him, in fairness. Most coaches who are offensive play callers do not want to relinquish that skill, that challenge, that responsibility. Most guys like doing that if they've always done it. If it's the thing that led to their rise to begin with, they don't want to relinquish it. They're control freaks, and I get it, man. It's your job, and if you lose your job, you want to go down swinging, doing things your way. But sometimes this is the best way, and we've seen coaches from Steve Spurrier in the college ranks, Mark Richt in the college ranks, and others take a step back and say, for whatever reason, something's not working right now. And listen, I don't know why that is, but I'm going to give a guy, I'm going to hand him the sheet. I'm going to look at some other things. Maybe I could be of greater help in other areas for this team right now. And maybe just having a fresh set of eyes on this thing will make all the difference in the world. Oh, by the way, that's true of anybody. And no matter the level of acumen and skill set, sometimes you get stagnant. Your voice no longer resonates with players. And you need just somebody else to look at the same damn playbook, by the way. It's still your offense, just somebody else is calling the sequence.
Exactly right. And again, maybe that's not true. Maybe it was Dirk's decision, but what makes more sense? Dirk reacts that way because it was his decision or because it wasn't? If you were the one that empowered an assistant of yours that you chose, that you brought in to have success and he has success, why aren't you doing backflips? That's the only natural reaction. And then the next day, you kind of make up for the mistake, but then you can't 100%.
Yeah, that's machismo, man.
Right. So that's, what other explanation is there unless Dirk is just bipolar?
No, he's insecure. And that's been revealed frequently. He doesn't like strong personalities. He doesn't like. I think he's got an adversarial relationship with Jameis and has from day one. I don't think. First of all, he argued against drafting Jameis. Then Jameis had all that success his rookie season and took a team that had won 2 games and got him to win 7 games right off the bat.
Then I think it was 6, but yeah.
And then turned around and won 9 games the following year.
Yeah.
And so in 2 years it had nothing but success and was on a path to greatness. And along the way, you got a head coach who's contentious about it. Who isn't reveling in the idea that they may have found their franchise quarterback?
2 examples in the last 2 years. Last season, Jameis gets hurt early in the year. He's cleared to play, is Dirk's response.
Yeah, he doesn't back him up.
100% opportunity here to back up your player and say, if you guys only knew
how tough that bastard
how much
is.
treatment he has to go through in a given week to play, you wouldn't be criticizing the throws that he can't make. Okay? Because I see that every day and you don't. That's an easy stance to take.
Oh, man.
And it sounds compelling, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. And by the way, your player falls in love with you and wants to go to war for you.
And here's your coordinator. And all you have to say is, you know what? I just got to say that Todd's time is coming. His star is rising.
That's why we tabbed him to come to the organization. And I'll tell you what, I am so proud of him.
If he's going to call a game like that where we formulate during the week. You can even take a little bit of passive credit there where we formulate during the week and he calls a game like that. I'm not going to have him for very long here. But while he's here, if he keeps calling games like that, we're going to have a lot of success. And I couldn't be more proud of that guy.
Well, and here's the thing, and you got to remember this, and I hope Ryan Fitzpatrick continues to play well because I thought there was a good chance we'd start 0-3, and maybe there's a chance we start something like 2-1. Who knows?
You needed a defensive score plus 41 points to beat the Saints. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was good reason for concern about this first game.
So my point would be this, though. I'll take all the success Ryan Fitzpatrick can have and not look at that in any way as, Jameis might not get his job back. Well, if he does, he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I'm about winning games. If Fitzpatrick looks like that through 3 games, there's no way you put Jameis out there.
It's an easy decision.
Right, if he looks like that. His career numbers, if you look at the back of his card, tell you he will not do that because he never has. He has had games where you go, that guy can play a little bit. And then he's had games where you're like, well, he's a backup.
It is literally in his career 6 touchdowns, no picks, no touchdowns, 0 picks, back-to-back weeks. That's happened in his career.
Yeah, no, he's a weird guy. He's a player that shows glimpses that you want to buy into. But the reason he's been on so many teams and gone place to place to place and is now in his mid-30s and really has never been a franchise quarterback is because he can never sustain that level of success. So, I don't anticipate him doing that again, but I certainly celebrate the hell out of the fact that he did in week 1, and we all should. And God forbid he puts another one of those games together, and somehow, the Bucs are 2-1 through those 3. By the time Jameis comes back, that's a good problem to have. We'll root for that.
Oh, boy. Lowball these expectations. 3-0. 3-0, sir.
It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this. It's right here, guys. We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
Games for Less, the only locally owned and operated gaming store in town, has Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used video games and game systems. The future of video gaming is at Games for Less, where they have both the PS4 and Xbox One. It's time to trade in your old systems and elevate your gaming experience now. Games for Less is also your headquarters for the best in retro gaming. Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachia Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less.
Nature Valley wants you to think of the last granola bar you ate. Could you see granola, nuts, berries, anything? At Nature Valley, our ingredients are right there to see. The only thing you can't see? How much you'll love it. Things like peanut butter for protein or oats and honey for energy. Simple, honest ingredients your taste buds will love. So for energy that goes where you go, try a snack from Nature Valley. Nature Valley, proud supporter of the national parks.
Parker Brothers Roofing.
'cause it's what we do with quality, integrity, and pride. Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
Hey, this is Wendell Parker of Parker Brothers Roofing. Most startup companies go out of business within their first 3 years. It takes years of experience for a roofing company to be exposed to and learn all the things that can go wrong. Don't gamble your valuable home to an inexperienced roofer. Parker Brothers has been in business in the community since 1995. Give us a call now at 656-8112.
Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
TGC 042221, CCC 049350.
Broadcasting live from the AmeriGas Propane Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Don't forget to go to GameDayExcursions.com. Do that today. Get it done. I know you feel kind of helpless right now, and season hasn't started the way we wanted, but that really has nothing to do with the trip that you want to take to South Bend, right? They need us more than ever.
Well, and you need to get away. The game could be like, the little side action of the entire trip and experience of going to Chicago and South Bend. And then there's just this game that you may or may not want to remember a week from that time. But that's okay. The experience is something you'll remember forever.
That's true. I'll continue here and then get back to that game in a second and my thoughts on that this far away. The trip will be fun no matter what, because that time of year and that part of the country is simply gorgeous. It's right before it gets to be freezing. So you get a little cool weather, like a little sweater, a little pullover Florida State action. Nice weather in the evenings. It's perfect. So you're going to want to do it. Do it with your loved ones. Do it with your fellow Noles. Go to GameDayExcursion.com and sign up. You'll get, once you arrive there in Chicago, get set to get on that bus. You'll be at the pickup spot, which is the Field Museum, I think it is, right?
That's the Field Museum right outside of Soldier Field.
I've been there numerous times. It's a great place. You'll get bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys as a welcome reception. That's a hell of a welcome reception. Why, I don't mind if I do, since I'm not driving. A premium bus transportation to and from Chicago to South Bend. So you get there. They got the tailgate party all set up, steps away from the stadium, stocked with food and beer and all that good stuff, entertainment for those who sign up. And this has already been done before. Ask Georgia fans. They went last year to Notre Dame. Go to GameDayExcursions.com. And also, if you join up now, rates are just $189 a night at the W Hotel Lakeshore. Be sure and use the promo code JCS. That's promo code JCS to get $10 off each order. GameDayExcursions.com. I was thinking of the Notre Dame game, and one thing that's happened is you can't do that, because I don't know what this team's going to look like then. It may not be a good team. Might be a lot better than we're currently seeing. And oddly enough, what this start has done and what the rebuilding process has shown us is that you can't take for granted any of these games. So now Syracuse, which I didn't envision being a juggernaut contest, one that you could lose and one that could send you further spiraling south, is a big game at noon on a Saturday in the Carrier Dome.
And then look at Notre Dame. They hold on to beat Michigan, then they hold on to beat Ball State. So, what exactly is Notre Dame? Obviously, any team with a defensive line with a pulse will be a problem. But Notre Dame, they're not exactly scoring 40 points a week right now. So who knows what the hell that game's going to look like.
Yeah, it's funny. I just want to see improvement from us. I'm really going to make every game this year about us. I am so hyper-focused on the points that are being left out on the field, the problems with the offensive line, the inconsistencies at the start of football games. Well, actually, it's very consistent. We start poorly on both sides of the ball in both football games we've played. These are things that can be improved upon. There are certain things you can't change, like personnel on your offensive line. It's going to take a little while, and that's part of the project now, where we realize it's a 2 to 3 year fix, which really hurts, and nobody wants to hear it. Nobody likes to talk about it, but it's true. It's funny. Corey reminded me of something today, being that he's a Georgia grad. I brought up the 4-4 record yesterday on the show. You heard me say it about Kirby Smart's start in Georgia. Nobody remembers that start. They all look at what Georgia is now, and they're like, well, Kirby instantly. No, Kirby didn't. They beat Nicholls State at home 26-24?
Yeah.
Do you know that same Nicholls State team the week after won by 7 over some tiny school like Mothers of the Ark or something. I mean, it was like something ridiculous.
Maybe shorter, like
something like that. It was some ridiculous school that you've never heard of. That Nicholls State team that pushed Georgia to the brink, much like Sanford pushed us to the brink, the next week barely got by something of the Covenant. So, I mean, it's, again, they were 4-4, and they struggled, and they got blown out by Florida and then rushed for 24 yards and all these things, right? And that's a bad Florida team. So I'm just reminded, unfortunately, that that's true there. It's true at Alabama where Nick Saban was. It's true currently with Chip Kelly. It was true when he was at Oregon. It's true with a lot of these different kind of radical shifts from a certain way of coaching and a certain philosophy to another philosophy. And when you're trying to get guys to understand your system and to buy into your concepts and get used to the way your coaches do things, especially if you're handcuffed with a line like ours, it can be exceedingly difficult. And I underestimated that, there's no doubt.
Well, it's all about the line. That's where it all begins and ends. And it looked a little bit better in spots for stretches on Saturday, but obviously there's a long way to go there. I think fatigue does play a little bit of a role too last week. How can it not? But I think the frustrating thing, if we're just speaking objectively versus expectations versus now, there's a lot of thinking on that field, and both offensively and defensively. There are coverage busts in defense that look like we're thinking about where to be rather than reacting. And on offense, especially, too. I mean, Cam Akers talked today about how he's got to be more patient as a runner. Obviously, DeAndre has to be better at reading. The receivers, they need to be more focused when it comes to blocking on the perimeter consistently and lining up pre-snap formations. Simplicity, right? That was what this coaching staff was pushing on both sides of the ball. That's the frustrating thing. We were made to believe that this is an easier offense that requires less thinking, but what we're learning and we're seeing in practice, it requires thinking. It requires unlearning and relearning, and that's the learning curve we're experiencing right now.
When you're timid and you are fractured and your psyche is not where it should be at an elite level or at a place like Florida State where elite athletes come to play football, everything can be difficult. And I think you're seeing that on defense. I think Harlan Barnett obviously does not want them to play that way. They need to be attacking. You saw some of it late in this game. They did cause the 4 interceptions, and that helps. But they're not playing with reckless abandon, and there's a reason for that. Again, you've got holes that you're trying to cover up at linebacker. And so I think almost by definition, you're defending and not attacking. And I know it's defense, but defenses can attack. I talk about that all the time. I think to some degree, you're trying to patch some things here, and you've got some guys who have damaged psyche. Offensively, DeAndre just doesn't completely know how to run the system smoothly yet. That will come. I don't think you can give up on that, not because of how we've looked. You've got to just keep on keeping on.
There are individuals who are attacking. I think Marvin Wilson attacks on every single play, and if you go back and just watch 21, it's a pleasure to see the results because he's playing like those clips in practice when he returned and he ripped off his helmet and celebrated in those individual drills.
Notice it's new guys.
Yes. Trey McKitty is playing with reckless abandon.
New guys, yep.
Woodby is playing with reckless abandon.
Brand new guy.
I think, and Tamarian Terry, Walt Bell talked today, he was raving more about his blocking than he was the ability to make a big catch in a big moment. The lone exception to that, Jacques Patrick.
Oh, of course. And you're right to bring that
every mile out of what he can get out of. The efficiency level is through the roof for what he is as a player. There's that third down conversion where he runs over 2 or 3 dudes the other night. And you just go, man, I wish he had, another 1/10 of a second off of his 40 time because that dude will be playing on Sundays and he deserves to play on Sundays with the heart he plays with. But I just don't know if he's anything other than an above average college football running back with the heart of a lion.
Yeah, and imagine where he's come from because he was soft as tissue paper when he got here and was told repeatedly how to run tougher. And you thought, how do you have a body like that and run so soft? And then you see what he is now. That's cool. That's a testament to hard work. It's a testament to putting in the time and the effort and then changing the mentalities.
In its own way, it's like Auden Tate's development as a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Auden was a little bit passive in tight moments. Maybe Keith Gavin can learn from something like that. Now, they're raving about his blocking too, but we all know talking about catching in traffic. So a couple of lessons. Auden Tate last year, and I guess Jacques Patrick towards the tail end of last season. The Duke game was one that he kind of won by himself with a couple of key runs and short yardage. Wake Forest, too, he was pretty big in that game. But you can flip a script. You can still develop, and they're going to need to develop these guys' minds moving forward if we're going to be doing anything close to what we want to do.
To hear you say it, too, makes, again, another great point, which is he had to make Herculean efforts and runs for Florida State to squeak by Wake Forest and Duke.
Yeah.
I mean, God, dog.
Right, and Cam obviously was the one that capped off the Duke game, but there are some huge runs by 9. And in this game this past weekend, there are some big plays by 9.
He's been the most consistent offensive player we have. Trey McKitty's been good, but I mean, I'm saying the most consistent, I mean, they're still learning what they can and can't do. I think a couple of things are true here. I do believe that Willie's figuring out his staff, just like they're figuring out the players. And they're doing a lot of exploring here. He's figuring out what works, what doesn't. I can tell you, and I don't want to talk out of turn and be careful here. I need to be, but, I do that interview with Willie Taggart every week. And we're figuring out what works schedule-wise. And this is not new. Everybody does this with I'm just happy he's agreed to do these interviews, and I've enjoyed them. But, in the beginning when I did these with Jimbo, the time changed. Sometimes we did them on Sunday mornings, then we did them on Sunday nights. One year we did them on Monday mornings. And so they got moved around. Schedules change as personnel and problems that arise, and you've got to fix different things. Willie's still figuring all that out. Right now, we're doing them on Monday mornings, which I thoroughly enjoy, and I hope he continues to do. But he did say, I haven't got everything exactly the way I want it right now, and that the schedule may change. Well, why do I bring that up? Because I think that's got to be true, right? I think that's a guy who's going back and watching film and learning things about his players, but also figuring out some things with his coaching staff that he likes and doesn't like. And then he has to have meetings with them and say, now, guys, we've got to stop doing this, this, and this, or I don't want this done this way. If you noticed late in the game, they had a pretty core group that they were sticking with late. But there were stretches throughout the evening where we would have 3 freshmen on the field at the same time at wide receiver. That can't be how you plan it. So my guess is these are part of the greater conversations they're having.
Well, and again, you look at the way we got down the field on that final touchdown drive before we got into the red zone. We abandoned the RPO-based stuff.
Oh, no, we gave it all up.
We're saying we're slinging it. Screw you, we're slinging it. We're going down the field. We're going to do what 12 does best, and we'll try and patchwork this thing next week. That's clearly – I'm just glad for 2 reasons to see what I've seen upon reviewing the game. In the moment, the emotions are too high right now.
Well, and it's still ridiculous to be in a fourth-quarter nail-biter with Sanford.
Right. So you're not blindly rage-filled. But, there's a lot of emotion on the line in that moment. So you go back and you rewatch it as though you watch any other football game, and there are 2 things that buoy me. One, this offensive staff is competent in terms of the plays they're calling. So drop that nonsense about he's not a good play caller. The plays are 100% there, and they're easy to see. Unfortunately, DeAndre is not seeing them every play right now. That's
correct.
So he needs to get a little bit better. Number 2, they swallowed their pride on both sides of the ball last weekend. All right, we want to put guys on an island and cover on defense. They abandoned that in key moments. They said, it's just not working tonight. This Hodges kid is just going to throw to a spot and kids are going to run to it because we can't press. We can't be men at the line of scrimmage, so screw us. We're going to have to drop into a zone. We're going to have to mix it up.
And give credit to Hodges because even when we covered well, there were some throws in the first half that he drops in a bucket on the move.
And McKnight's seemingly a very good player too.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see him on Sundays and say, oh, well, in retrospect, that's not so bad.
I think Tim Linnefeld tweeted out that's Peter Warwick's nephew. Did you see that? I mean, of course.
Well, Pete, can you call a
program? I was going to say, brother, what are we doing?
And then on offense, the same thing. We're not trying to stick to the RPOs the way we did in the second half of Virginia Tech coming out the gate. When it was winning time, we said, you know what do we do best? And DeAndre does best dropping back and throwing the football. And that's what got us to a point where when we reintroduce it, now it's the shorter part of the field. There's less space, so you probably need to create more things. I just love seeing that we're not being stubborn in a moment where you got to get a game against an FCS team before this thing really falls off the tracks.
Western Michigan scored 42 points against Syracuse, Tom. Western Michigan's quarterback threw for 379 yards and nearly 4 touchdowns. He had 3. Another one was dropped in the end zone. Western Michigan had this as their starting running backs. Levante Bellamy, 11 carries, 129 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jamari Bogan, 6 carries, 68 yards, 11.3 yards per carry. Chase Brown, 4 carries, 40 yards, 10 yards per carry. They had a receiver, Dwayne Eskridge, go for 8 receptions, 240 yards and 2 touchdowns. Why am I bringing this up? Western Michigan scored 42 points against Syracuse. Syracuse has failed to stop anybody with a pulse for a long time. I know Wagner scored 7. It's Wagner. If this offense is on the cusp of getting it right and putting it all together, even with the offensive line woes, which are going to hold you back, there are certain drives that are just going to get destroyed because they can't block anybody. This is the weekend on turf to get it done. I don't want to hear about crazy crowds because it's Syracuse, and they haven't been crazy in a long time. I know it's a dome, and they'll be excited because they smell blood. I got you. Go out and execute. Go out and make plays, and at least drop a number here that's respectable on Syracuse's defense. You should. We have the athletes and the weapons to do it. This ought to be a game in which Florida State easily scores either in the high 30s or high 40s. I would say into the 40s, certainly. The question mark to me is, again, is Eric Dungy going to torch us and our defense early in games? Don't do what you've been doing, getting down by a couple of scores to start every game.
I allow for the fact that Saturday may be ugly and we may be really scratching our heads. Like if we haven't been already, we're digging into it now and there's skin coming out because we're so angry. But I don't think it's going to play out that way. Like I fully admit that it could go one of two drastically different ways.
Yeah.
But just watching the offense, I do think it's close enough. And I do think having a little bit more time to prepare is a good thing, obviously. That short week thing, it really killed us in 2009. And
we need
it
to
clearly,
stop doing it, by the way.
Yes, and it clearly affected us in this game too. It doesn't excuse everything, though. That's the hard part. You know, in this day and age with social media, you say one sentence and somebody says, well, you are clearly on the wrong side of the argument. There's weighted averages to everything we say, right? But this offense is very close to hitting that stride, and Syracuse might put up little to no resistance if you can start fast. But if you start the same way we have these last couple of games and you're down 13, 14, nothing, and you're chasing all damn day, this offense for Syracuse might be too much, and we might be packing it in the third quarter because we can't get a stop that we need. It's a fascinating game, but I think it really can be either way of the spectrum. You know, Florida State, significant margin, Syracuse, significant margin, or just a shootout where we're trading scores all damn day.
Well, and I think that, and I fear, but it's just a reality now, and I'm trying to wrap my mind around this. I think this is the way we're going to approach a lot of games. I think we're going to be looking at any number of games this year where you go, it could go either way here. Louisville, Miami, Wake Forest. I mean, I don't pencil in lopsided affairs in our favor for any game. Northern Illinois' defense played well against Iowa on the road. I don't know that we're going to go out there and just hum along and get things done. So that stinks. Nobody likes to go through it. But once you accept that that's what you're going through, then you can enjoy the gains or you can properly weigh the losses. I understand that the idea here is to amass enough victories to keep a 41 consecutive winning season streak alive, a 36 straight bowl appearances record alive. I get all that, but really we're in a game-by-game scenario right now.
Well, I think what you're looking at here with us is we're streaky on both sides of the ball. You know, if you put it together at any point, it's nasty what we can do to even probably an above-average football team. I don't know about a college football elite this year, but we can do some things. You saw the offense put a couple of drives together, and it doesn't matter who the opponent is. You're throwing to wide open people, the tempo's going. It's all about the pace with the offense, and that's what gets it moving. And then defensively, you see 2 second halves in a row where you can lock it down a little bit now. So to me, it's all about, do you time these things correctly at any point? Because if you can do so for a quarter and a half, and what is that, 4 or 5 possessions each side of the ball?
Right.
You're building a 3-score lead. We just haven't played from ahead at any point. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's potential at any moment. If you want to be negative about it, it's also potential for the positive side of it, too.
Yeah, I would just say that you cannot continue to get off to the kind of slow starts that we have in each of the first 2 games on defense. I understand the offense has got to get better, and they started terribly slow. I mentioned it yesterday, 14 plays, 30 yards, ain't getting it done. You can't do that 2 weeks in a row, especially not against an FCS school. But damn, man, if the defense wants to make a stop on somebody's opening drive, that'd be cool. I mean, because you're only ratcheting up pressure early in games for a group whose psyche is fragile. That's you don't want to put yourself in those positions. Give yourself a fighting chance, is all we're saying. Give yourself a fighting chance. And again, trying to overcome that offensive line, that is yeoman's work. It's very difficult to do. I get it. All right, 2 hours. We get a lot of questions in next show and Seminole Headlines, which is coming up. And what follows Seminole Headlines tonight, Tom? We've got so much programming these days. I'm all over the map.
I believe the Braves follow, but they're on the West Coast, so it might not be for a minute. They're playing out in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, and the Braves are playing well, and the Giants have lost 9 straight. So it should be a nice night for the Braves.
This is in the crosshairs now. The Braves have the division in the crosshairs.
I think it's 5 games now in Philadelphia. It's about over.
Right. Well, but they have 6 with Philadelphia in the last 2 weeks. This not this upcoming weekend, but the last 2 weekends of the regular season, they play 3 games with the Phillies. So the key for the Braves is to build this thing up to about 6 to 7 games before those 2 series even start. And I think at that point you have a damaged psyche in Philadelphia.
Well, they're 11-20 in their last 31. Philadelphia is. I think their psyche's plenty damaged.
Well, they're negative in the run differential too.
Yeah.
They're pitching their ass off though. That's the thing about Philly. If they get any hitting whatsoever, then they can put together a 4 or 5 game winning streak.
Speaking of which, it's awfully fun to note that Milwaukee takes on the Cubs. They're now just a game back. The Cubs could lose the division. What a shame.
That would break your heart.
I would hate to see such a thing. And there was a guy that once at the beginning of the year, whether it was wrong or not, does not care, put money on the Colorado Rockies to win the West, who are up a game and a half at this late stage.
Defying the Pythagorean.
Come on, baby. Hang in there, Colorado. I need Trevor Story to hit 50 home runs, and he's on pace probably to do so.
You know, it's funny. You said it yesterday that you guys lost Polanco for the season. I'm like, well, at least that's only 3 weeks. That's what I thought as a Mets fan. I'm like, that's only 3 weeks.
Yeah, he can handle that.
That's
right?
the end of the season. It's no problem. Getting series is almost over, or season, I should say.
The stat that I saw, did I see this right? I did see this. The Mookie Betts situation in Boston, which is unbelievable. He's hitting 342, by the way. I think it's he and Martinez are on pace to be the first set of teammates to both hit over 320 and have 30 or more home runs in the same season since DiMaggio and Gehrig.
Wow, really?
That's ridiculous.
I would have thought 2 dudes in Colorado did it when Larry Walker was down there or something.
No.
Or Todd Helton.
DiMaggio and Gehrig.
Huh.
I mean, sweet Jesus, what are we doing here? That is really remarkable. I mean, that's kind of quietly been going on.
About
over
the
here.
only thing that was same at that time was Fenway Park was the home of the Red Sox.
That's right.
That's about the only
right.
thing that was the same.
Plenty of hits for DiMaggio and Gehrig there, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, Seminole Headlines up next. Good work out of you, Tom. Good work, Matthew. Be well, everybody. Have a great night. Enjoy the shows, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.